Good morning, guys. Theo here, Coach Theo, Uncommon Sense. But I just woke up at 4:20 and just look at this. I just had to take an intro for you guys. Crazy. Just crazy. Okay, guys, I just installed an update on my phone, but I might still have this issue with the front camera freezing up. If so, I'm begrudgingly gonna have to go change this still quite new phone, but just bear with me today if I freeze up. I know you want to see my pretty face and expressing all the emotions, but the audio really is most important here. So today, it's a very special day because it is the 5-year anniversary of my voluntary celibacy. Da, 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 da. But what's up with that though? Is it really voluntary or is it just a cope? Well, sit back and listen as jacked and stacked blonde Giga Chad tells you all about it. So before I was this guy that I just said I am, I used to be a skinny fat loser, hedonist, nihilist kind of guy, just escaping reality through vices, drinking, partying, hooking up with girls when that was possible, but of course porn, weed, junk food. Basically, when a man can't find purpose, he numbs himself with pleasure. And so today we're obviously going to focus more on the sex and hooking up with girls part. But I used to view all of this very differently. Life can only be lived forwards but understood backwards. So back then, I saw it as, of course, it makes sense that I need to sleep with girls to feel good about myself. Because, well, I couldn't see any meaning in the world, When you've had a tough life, you don't really, why are we here, why? What's the point of all of this? I've gone through so much misery, but you still try, of course. Can't come up with a reason for all of this. And you often, as a man, I think, end up with this very biological, overly biological worldview that, we're all animals, we all reproduce, so that seems to be the thing here. So, so it must mean, if I hook up with girls, it must mean that I'm succeeding, I'm winning the game, I'm alpha, But it really came, of course, I know now, this huge need to just sleep with girls, get that attention from girls. It came from low self-worth and trying to get that self-worth that I didn't have within me from the outside. Because if you think about it, it's like, yeah, of course, you should have an interest in girls. I want to have sex and children in the end. But this, when you think about it, for a guy like me, I've talked about it before, it wasn't so much even about the sexual urge. Of course you have that, and I enjoy that too. But it was really just about getting that validation from girls. Because for me, I felt like I didn't necessarily have to have sex with a girl to get what I was looking for. For instance, let's say I'm in some kind of party situation, and I somehow, I've made moves on a girl, and we make out or something, but the logistics just don't allow for us to have actual sex then. Well, I wasn't too bothered by it, even if I would have wanted, because it's like I got what I want. She would have done that with me, and now I feel good about myself. So it's so clear that it wasn't really even with this biological worldview that I've come up with. It was really just trying to feel good about myself through hooking up with girls, right? And so I had all these vices before, alcohol and everything, but I was a kind of guy that I'd say I really didn't have one main thing, like some people really do. I was addicted to this, but I would say alcohol was a big one. But really, if I have to pick one, it was this with girls, always. So it's constantly ongoing thing, being on these dating apps or whatever girl you're in touch with, just trying to make it happen all the time, desperately. And if it goes too long, you don't feel good about yourself, but of course you never do, because you cannot get what's lacking from within, you cannot get from without, right? It's like, if you have pain, heroin, it doesn't cure the pain. Just when you're high on it, you're not going to feel the pain. Same thing, I temporarily feel like, I'm worth something, because that's the connection I made. If a girl will hook up with me, I'm worth something. So I feel like that then, but of course, it's just temporary. It's going to go away. You cannot fill this void that needs to be filled from within. But then, so I went through this experience with panic attacks. I've talked about it so much. If you're new, basically, I ended up at rock bottom in my life. I started having daily panic attacks, extremely brutal. I couldn't do anything else than try to just survive, And I put myself through self-imposed exposure therapy for months. Brutal. And so I had to, in this process, I had to face a lot of fears of abandonments, you know, that, because, you know, of course I have all these things, I think how I should be like a man, you know, to be cool in general, but for girls to like think I'm alpha or something, and being weak like this, that I viewed it like freaking out in seemingly mundane situations. That cannot, I cannot do that, but I had no choice but to face that fear, right? So what ended up happening with me, again, I did not understand all of this back then, but when I came out on the other side, there were so many different things that were different with me when I didn't have these panic attacks anymore. I had faced all of that. And, you know, obviously I got into fitness and training, and I developed myself more. But that's not really the main point in this video. But I started noticing this. This ever, you know, present feeling of where's the next girl, where's the next thing with this, you know. It just quite wasn't there anymore. But I didn't know anything else. So I was so confused by that. So while naturally, because I didn't feel the urge to get that validation anymore, I just, you know, didn't look for it as much. But kind of a routine, because I still kind of, even if I don't feel the same way, that's just kind of how I think it works. So I can recall one girl, like from Tinder, I like hooked up with once or twice. There might be different one, I can't recall. But mainly I noticed that I'm just not so into this anymore, in this way, you know. Like, of course I want a girl and everything, but this hookup, Tinder bullshit, or yeah, just don't really care about it. But it's like, I'm not quite sure if, is this even okay, you know? Am I strange? Because that's all I've known, right? But so yeah, I just recall that then I go quite some months without nothing of that. And back then I was still in a choir, okay? Very good men's choir, one of the best in the world. So you go different places and compete, and like you have concerts, competitions, festivals and such. And so we were at Eurovision choir in Sweden, actually. I was in a different city, and also I had started, you know, I had done everything, all my bad habits I was doing less. But so this was a special occasion after the competition, you know, I drink a bit more than I had in a while, still way less than I used to, you know. And I just remember being in this club at the end of the evening. And I, of course, the funny thing is, because I was confident that I could hook up with girls before. You know, there's a difference between confidence and self-esteem. Many guys like this have low self-esteem, so they feel this need from the validation from girls, but might, because they've done it quite a bit, they're like confident in their ability to do so. So just imagine that I knew that I could do that as my former little cheery self. Like, how do you think I feel after 1 year when I basically look like now, but just smaller, and I'm just feeling so much better about myself. I'm way more secure within myself. So I remember seeing this girl from across the dance floor, right? And just see her stare me down. I remember just going up to her and being like, what are you looking at? And we started like making out, you know. And this girl wanted to have like sex in the bathroom in the club. But already there, you know, I don't have a good feeling. But this is the routine still, right? And I remember this girl, it did happen that way. But outside, she wanted to know things about, oh, how many have you slept with? I'm like, I've slept with this many. I'm like, do you think that is something to brag to me about? Like, fucking don't tell me about that. And I what was the ages? She was young, you know. I was like, I was 26 then, right? 26, 27, let's not do that. I'm so exhausted on this vacation, you know. I'm having a great time, but I'm so wiped out. I don't sleep anything, almost, compared to otherwise. But, yeah, well, she was young. She was like 19 or something. But we ended up going to her place because I was in her city. I just remember she was putting on so much of a show. It's like, it's so obvious you're imitating whatever porno you've seen, you know. Nothing to this spoke to me. And so very mechanically, I just do this, you know, hitting it there. I'm just thinking to myself, so let's just get this over with. I remember that she didn't want me to finish. I'm like, yes. And afterwards, I actually made the decision, not officially to become like, oh, Volcel, like I'll call it now, but I did decide that, you know what, just fuck this for a while. This was, what I've been going around and thinking is now confirmed. This is a fucking complete waste of time. It's like, no, you just don't want this, right? So then I go about my life working on myself the way I do. You know, I start thinking to myself, like, I started realizing this, that yeah, I really truly want one good girl to be my like life partner. Of course I want to have sex with her and that, but it's really, the sex is not what I'm looking for here. It's that connection and someone, you know, to build something with, a family, right? And I start having these, you know, when I think about it, it's like, well, do these girls even exist anymore? And if they do, will they understand that a guy like me actually am this way? That, you know, I just want you, just one girl. I want to give you everything, you know. Will she even get that I'm like that? You know, I start thinking about these things. But then one day, I just decided, you know what? I am quite I don't feel desperate for that. That's just what I want. So let's just become the man. If I'm not that man already, just become the man that deserves a girl, that is worthy for that kind of girl, right? Well, I would, because I express it like that, just because what I've said in different videos, that's not my entire motivation. I want to become the best man I can, but that will include being that for the kind of woman I would want, right? And it's funny how the universe works, because it's like when you are ready, the universe is like, oh, so you see you're ready? Well, here she comes. So there was a girl that came into my life. At first when I spoke to her, I didn't know that this was where it was going, but then it turned out we had all these, how I feel, uncommon, right? She was equally as uncommon, just a woman, right? And so I think I found, oh, that's when I decided, like call it that, I'm Volcel, because that it will be with her when we end up, because we're far away, we can't see each other too often. It's going to take some time for the relationship to develop, and we're actually living together and everything. So it's like obvious that yeah, she will be the next and the last one. But then, and then guys, I wish, as I tell you, I wish I could go into more details, and one day the full story will be told, but I just can't tell you everything. But it's such an extremely dramatic thing. It's not just about her and me. Very difficult. Life is very complex sometimes. I gotta say, guys, I appreciate so much that someone like me that shares so much, and I want to put myself out there. You know, it's a great pain. There's been so much difficulty around that. Really, the toughest hardship or some things related to that, like that I've experienced through these years since I changed from my old self. And I just want to thank you real quick, for you guys are really quite respectful with not digging too much about that, because it can really hurt when the thing I see when it's like, oh look bro, she's met someone else, it's over. It's like when people project their bullshit, and it's like, you have no fucking clue. You have no fucking clue, and you will feel like such a moron if you knew the truth of the matter, right? But very shockingly, things did not go the way I thought they would there. And then, you know, it's been a continuous battle for me, like because, you know, I've now gone in on this Volcel path, like stated it like that. It's like, how can I go back from this? Not that I necessarily like wanted to, oh, if it's not her, then I want to go have sex with some other girl, you know. But it's like, I don't quite know how to do with all of this. And I noticed that when I hurt from the situation with her sometimes, that's when that old thing, when I don't feel good about myself now, when I'm hurting from that, when that old little thing, like feeling the need for attention, validation from a girl, just that, it arises. But it's somehow, I've understood this so deeply that even though it's something that comes to mind, it's like I don't never act on it, never truly intend to act on it, but I'm like confused on how to go about it. And then again, me and this other girl that I love very much, and we're not together right now, and it's gonna, you know, probably within the not too far future, I'll see some things, how all of that goes. But yeah, it's been like we've come back and out into each other's lives. Let's see, you see, oh, I'm here now. So yeah, that's been a thing. But in the meantime, I've been thinking so much. The thing is, I've never truly felt like I want to see other girls, if you see. Because, yeah, just for that reason it would have been, you know, like, oh, so to make myself feel better. But so I just kind of had to sometimes push myself, I felt like, to approach other girls. Of course, I obviously haven't slept with anyone, you know, but I've never really felt like it. And also when I think about the thing, like, oh, should I just abandon this volcel thing, like, it is a bit extreme. Like, of course, there's nuance. There's not just the way I used to be when you're constantly looking to hook up, or being a volcel, right? But what I often end up with is like, well, it just cannot be this like thing when I just get Tinder and try to find someone to hook up with. That just cannot be the right thing to do if I am to end up with this girl, or someone like her, right? So that's what I come back to. But so now I'm here after 5 years, and this is the first time. Like, again, I love my girl. I want to see her as my girl. On some level, I will always, whatever happens, I will always care for her. It's like she's such a beautiful person. It's really just such difficult circumstances that I've gotten in the way. But for the first time ever, though, because I've had to, that's a side story for another video, but I've had to work on some like toxic traits within myself that I clearly discovered that I still had in that relationship, you know. But I feel like I've overcome them to such a degree now that I basically learned to love unconditionally. That, you know, what you love, you gotta let go. You cannot, if you truly love the person, you know, you want the best for them, and you can love them and be happy just about them even when you're not with them, right? So yeah, I'm saying absolutely it would be great, but I just don't know now, and it's because I've gotten rid of my toxic attachments. That's something, again, it's going to be a topic for another video, or else it's probably still, it's already quite a long video. But like, you can love someone genuinely and at the same time have some toxic attachments and traits in it, right? But I just feel like I've overcome those traits. So now it's the first time I actually would be ready. I'm not just like, oh, I should see other girls or whatever, you know. It's like, no, I actually want that if this is not gonna work out. And then I've been thinking 5 years now, fucking 5 years, guys, of looking like this, being like this, having 99th percentile testosterone, and not having sex, you know. It's kind of crazy. It's the most insanely disciplined thing I ever heard about, basically. Because let me tell you, apart from that, when I said that old thing comes when it's like, I just needed to feel good about myself kind of thing. Of course, I have an extreme sex drive, and I go crazy sometimes in the summer. Like, when I'm vibing high, the sun is shining, it's like, you know. So I'm thinking about whether I should allow myself to break this celibacy, but it's like, it's tough for me because I kind of cannot come up with a situation where I feel entirely good about it. Like, even if I'm completely honest with a girl about exactly everything, you know, I mean, I'll add to her body count, and most likely, just because, even especially because I'm so laxed and unattached, she'd probably fall in love with me, you know, or it's very likely, you know. So I just have not quite decided. There is someone, I think, it seems like that's something she'd like to do with me. And of course, if this is something I would want, it would not be that difficult to do. But I just have not decided yet, guys. But I guess that's the final point I want to end on here. That I've done this volcel thing, and I am not black and white, guys. Like, it can come off that way with some extreme things I do. But it's kind of like with my physique, you know. Like, yeah, I think it's cool if someone else wants to max out, but my message here is not that everyone needs to max out their physique the way I do. I'm a leader. Leaders do more. I set the example, I set a high standard, so that you can come, you know, this is the direction you can go in, right? It's kind of the same with the volcel thing. It's like, it's not that I want everyone, like, you have to be a volcel, right? You have to just stay away from sex completely, like that, until you find the one. It's kind of just like, I just want you to realize that it is like, don't take it so lightly. Like, even for men, I'm sure that sleeping around, the high body count will like have more long-lasting effects on a woman. It will, like, let's put it like this: both men and women are in that place when they're hooking up all the time. They're not in a good place. But I think a woman would get more damage from it. But like, don't think that it's such a thing that you can just like, oh no, I can just go around and do that and it won't affect me whatsoever. It's a major thing, and people, you gotta remember that it's not for that long. You've just been able to control reproduction in that way. That with some people that just want to, no, sex is part of life. It's something. It doesn't have to be a love for children and blah blah. Well, part of life. It's what creates life, really. And we have now, with all these tools we've come up with, made it so that we can disconnect the two completely, but they're not really supposed to be that completely disconnected. So do you see what I mean? I want to tell you that it's not like, oh, it's completely dirty to just not be in a complete celibacy, but that's gonna, I want people are so degenerate with sex these days, you know. I just want people to come back to healthier view and relationship to this. Like, don't just go about doing that with anyone, you know, for whatever reason. I'm not finding where I'm completely exhausted, like I said, you know. But this is my story, and that's my message. Like, Volcel, yeah, for me it ended up like that. It wasn't a complete decision to begin with that I'll just be Volcel for 5 years, but I was heading in that direction. And you can see my specific life circumstances just made it so that, yeah, it became like completely like that. But even me now, I'm considering that maybe after 5 years of proving that I can do this, maybe I should allow myself, because the one thing I know at least is that it would not come now from this toxic need to just feel good about myself. It would be purely like a physical need, and that's what it kind of starts to feel like sometimes. Like, I just have to get this out of my system. Oh, the poor girl who would have to do it, she wouldn't walk right for a week. It's like but of course they like that when it's consensual, when they want you, of course. But I think that's all, guys. That's my story. So yeah, you can like and comment. It's strange in relation to this video to talk about the coaching I do, holistic bodybuilding. But yeah, many guys, even guys that have problems with girls, and look up to me for the Volcel things I work with on my programs. So you can DM me or on Instagram or email me. I'll tell you about my different options for coaching. I also have a video about it that I always forget to link now in the description. Buy my training book, completely unrelated to sex, of course, but yeah. You should do that anyway. You can become a patron for more exclusive content, and definitely topics like this are touched upon more. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Sex is sacred. Treat it that way, not just like a hedonistic drug. All right, peace.